Downsizing from a 42-foot fifth wheel to a 31-foot Class C should be easy, right?
No.
So here's 7 challenges that we face when downsizing RVs and how we overcame them. I'm so stressed out.
Welcome back to the RV Odd Couple. My name is John.
And my name's Mercedes, and we RV in pursuit of freedom, independence, and adventure.
Because life is so short, guys.
It really is. Our situation is unique. We're full-time RVers, and our fifth wheel is kind of serving as our sticks and bricks because it's stationary. But we're taking this 31-foot Class C for a seasonal trip. So it's long-term, not weekend warrior, but for a couple months.
Yep, we're going for 3 months around the country, Colorado. We're going down to Utah, Bryce Canyon, Zion. We're going to shoot down into Arizona, revisit Sedona again. So we're super, super excited to break loose from being stuck in one spot for so long.
But first, we have to get everything packed and downsized. And even though we've been RVing for 2 years, this is a totally different animal. All right, so the first challenge that we faced was a lack of a launch date. And what this means is that we kept planning on leaving.
Next week. We did this for months.
Yeah, and it was really, really frustrating. Having a date turned our trip from a nebulous dream to a finite plan.
Exactly. Now, we missed that date still, even though we said it a couple of times because we got a lot of different balls that we're juggling, especially with our daughter and her therapy. But once we picked a date, we both got on the same page, and we actually started getting a lot more done.
Our goal was to leave at 8 o'clock this morning. It's 7:57 and we're nowhere near leaving. We're out of gas in the Gigi Mobile. We're low on groceries, so we're kind of a mess. Well, that and the whole plan centered around the date. So when we didn't have a date, we really didn't have a plan.
Right.
Which brings us to number 2. A lack of a plan. And we're pretty good at planning, but what I mean is an organized plan, detailed lists, because we had to create a plan not just of what to bring, but what to do.
And what would fit.
That was a big struggle too.
The moment of truth. Does the Ninja fit? Does it fit?
It fits.
Yay!
Just barely. Just the height. Just about right.
Woohoo!
Yep,
we get
we're
to
good.
bring the Ninja!
We can eat! It's so true. And one of the things is in our Sandpiper 42-foot fifth wheel, we've got 16 feet of counter space in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And the new Class C, we've got about 2 feet of counter space. So we've got to be very, very careful about what we're going to do in that space and how we're going to organize it.
Well, not just that, but the appliances that we have, like in our kitchen specifically, they need to be really hard workers. So they need to be something that we use absolutely every single day, or they need to serve multiple purposes. Finding a coffee solution in such a small kitchen has been a big dilemma, but we found the Keurig Slim. You know, I went from having a ton of counter space to having basically none. So check this out. Check out how small this is. This is tiny. So the nice thing about this is that it can go on there, but I still have counter space. All right, so first let's talk about our plan of what to bring. So the RV Odd Squad is our subscribers, and one of the tips was to bring enough stuff as though you were traveling for 10 days.
Exactly. To think back what you've used over the past 7 to 10 days, and those are the things that you have to bring with you. Now, Mercedes and I both walked around the RV, and we made a list of all the things that I thought I would need and she would need. And of course, Mercedes thought that some of the things that I wanted to bring we didn't need. And some of the things that I thought Mercedes wanted to bring were ridiculous.
No way.
So there was always, between us all the time, is this creative tension.
What helped us overcome the challenge of figuring out what to bring and what not to bring was really dividing the things into 2 categories. So the first category had things like safety equipment, things that we didn't necessarily need on a daily basis, but we wanted to make sure we got them into the smaller RV.
Now, I certainly couldn't bring all the tools that I would like to bring. So what I did was I brought only the tools that I knew that we would need in an emergency.
The second category was stuff like our Berkey for clean water or our toothbrushes. Obviously, you're not going to pack those first and then keep going back and forth to RVs every time you brush your teeth, right?
Exactly, and our clear source. We wanted to bring our clear source with us so any water that we were showering or putting through the sink faucets was going to be fairly clean.
So having our list of things to bring divided into those 2 categories
helped a lot. So the very first thing that I did for safety was I installed my TST, tire pressure monitoring system. And what's really cool about this one is we were actually able to take the rubber off the rims and put the rim bands to measure the pressure. I'm super excited. I will eventually do that with our 5th wheel as well. It just makes it a lot easier when you fill in your tires. Our refrigerator was downsized about 1/3 of the size of what we have in our Sandpiper 5th wheel. That was a big challenge.
So we had to do a lot of planning to accommodate for the smaller quarters. The next part of our plan that we really had to get organized was the list of things to do.
Exactly.
And that list kind of grew pretty fast. We didn't realize it, but the smaller RV meant that we really needed a tow vehicle.
We had to have a tow vehicle, and this was a big concern because we have been driving around on our GMC 3500 pulling our 5th wheel. We certainly can't pull our sewer lines and all our connections to run down to the local store with a 31-foot rig, so we had to have a tow vehicle. One of our RV Odd Squad members, Jason, reached out to me and somebody had a Jeep. Now, Jeeps are a great tow vehicle for Class Cs or Class As because of the transfer case. So we are on our way to pick up the Jeep, which is going to be the tow vehicle for the GG Mobile. You guys ready to go?
We're ready.
Then we had to look into how to tow the Jeep. We had no idea.
Ordeal.
Now we're going to be doing a whole nother video on how to pick the right equipment to pull a vehicle. We were also looking at a car dolly, but that was out for us because we've heard from other RVers that they're just a pain in the butt.
Yeah, so let us know in the comments what questions you have as far as the Jeep, towing the Jeep, etc., because that video is coming up soon. The other thing that we had on our to-do list, and this is kind of unique to our situation, was really preparing our 5th wheel for long-term storage.
So babe, the calm before the storm, we have pretty much gotten all of Sage's toys out so she could choose what she's going to bring with her. Now it's just clean up and hit the road, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping for, it's 9:40, I'm hoping for a noon departure. Is that realistic, you think?
I don't know, man.
Because we still have
This
to
place
clean
is a mess.
and prep this, and I don't even know how to prep it. So I don't even know what we're really supposed to do to prep this RV.
Well, we want to have it nice and clean when we come back in 3 months, right?
Well, yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to disconnect my water so there's no water running to this while I'm gone. I'm closing all my tanks off completely to sewer. We've hung a couple of bags in case there's a little bit of moisture in there.
All right.
Oh, it stinks in here.
It does. Somebody just went to the bathroom.
We also have somebody coming over to check on it once a week, or in case of an emergency if I ask them to. So as you guys know, we set it about 22 months ago on our full-time adventure, right? And so we have never stored our 5th wheel, ever. And so I had to do some research on what to do. Eventually, we will do a whole nother video just on storing your vehicle and preparing it for being empty for long periods of time. I've left my power 50 amps so that I can keep this thing cool while I'm gone. We're also going to monitor this system, so if we ever lose power, my power watchdog will send me a warning. I'll send somebody over to double check, make sure that it's okay. And I'm also going to pull all my slides in, because when your slides are in, it's a much better seal to keep more bugs out while we're gone. Always want to do a walk around on your RV. Check that all the slides have been completely closed. And you just want to make sure you check that seal all the way around all the slides.
So if we were storing our RV in Montana, what we would have had to do is completely different.
Drain it out, protect it for freezing.
Exactly. So we didn't really have to winterize it. We had to Floridaize it. Totally different.
The other piece that I didn't think about is that the park that we're in Florida is covered with pine trees and the sap drops all over the place. This made me go ahead and order a cover for the truck so that when I got back, it wasn't a sappy mess. Because you guys know what it's like to try to get sap off of a truck. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's a good point. We weren't just prepping the RV for storage. We were also prepping the truck for storage.
Yep.
So the third challenge that we had was physically packing the other RV. And what we mean by that is, you know, you have this idea that you'll be able to bring this stuff, and then you bring it to the new RV and you realize, no, I'm going to be able to bring half of that stuff. So then you bring half of it back. And I'm just speaking for a friend, right?
Yeah, right. right. I would bring a truckload of stuff over to the RV and Mercedes would send half of it back.
Yeah. Well, one of the tips that really helped us to overcome this was to park the RV that we were downsizing into right next door.
It helps a lot. Now, we were able to have the RVs next to each other on the same camping site for about 5 days total.
Yeah.
Once we had to move the RV, boy, did we wish we had moved a lot faster when they were next to each other, because we had to take, you know, multiple trips in the Jeep. I'd say 30 or 35 trips, just tightening up.
All right, one trip down, 277 more to go.
Having to drive back and forth really made it a lot harder as opposed to having to walk back and forth.
One of the other things we did was we slept in the Class C a couple of nights to kind of feel what it was like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you don't really know until it's the morning and you're like, man, I want some coffee. How am I going to make some coffee? So if you can have like a dry run, definitely, I recommend that.
Yeah, practice.
The fourth challenge that we faced was having too much stuff. Now, some of y'all tease us. Whatever, Mr. Tools. Did you see the Tools video? I'm linking to that up above because just for proof that I'm not the hoarder in the relationship. It's totally
Well, during this process, I was able to make an inventory of my tools and things that I have not used since we've left 22 months ago. And I'm bringing some of those tools to Colorado for my son.
Even though we were full-time RVers, we still had another level of downsizing to do. That was a big undertaking.
Organizing toys, Mom?
Yeah. We have a lot of toys.
We were stuck in the same location for 11 months. We started acquiring a little too much extra junk that we really didn't need and we couldn't take with us when we needed to be agile.
Which is kind of ironic because the next challenge that we faced was that we still have to buy things even though we're downsizing.
One of the things that we love about this RV is the fact that it has bunks and Sage has her own little private space. She loves crawling in and like closing the curtains and just having her alone time. So what I've done is I've got a bed and a bag that has all of the things that I need. But since I don't have laundry on board, I had to get a backup of sheets. So I'm trying to weigh out the things that I absolutely need, but there's some things I need duplicates of, and figuring all that out is driving me a little crazy. RV mattresses are super uncomfortable, but since this isn't our RV full time, and it's not even really ours, instead of throwing out this mattress, we invested in a super thick topper, and this really helps a lot to make the mattress way more comfortable. We're full-time RVers that are going to take a part-time or seasonal trip. We're having some duplicates in the big RV and in the small RV so that we're not bringing everything back and forth. For example, we're getting like knife set and silverware, these types of items, so that we're not dragging our forks and spoons every time we switch RVs. The other thing that we're doing that's pretty cool, I didn't even realize they had this set that has everything already. At least I don't have to worry about it. What really helped us overcome this is being very picky about what we buy. So what I mean by that is like, I'm not going to spend $2 on a trash bin that's not really what I want, that doesn't really fit where I want it. I'm going to wait until I really find what I absolutely want. And that's going to help me not accumulate too much stuff.
Yeah, and also, we don't know what it's really going to be like in the Class C until we actually start living in it. So don't force yourself to buy everything and try to think of everything.
The next challenge that we faced was with one another. And I am only sharing this because I think it helps people to hear the truth, right? There were moments where we were both really excited. Like we listened to Rocky Mountain Way, like kind of like, we're going to Colorado. So we listened to songs that got us excited to go on a road trip again. But then there were times where we were driving each other absolutely bonkers.
Crazy. We couldn't agree on what was the best solution because we were downsizing into such a small place. What I thought we needed, Mercedes thought was ridiculous, and what I thought she wanted to bring, I thought she was ridiculous.
Well, and it's not even just what to bring, but it was also how to do things.
So I think this would be a good time to chat about the behind the scenes. You see, the reality is that John and I are kind of driving each other a little bit crazy because he wants to move fast. I like to be really thorough. And the more he pushes me, sometimes the slower I go. So I've been trying to be really fast, but that's not saying much. Moving can be really stressful, especially if you have different ways of doing things. And it's really important. Like, I'm not sitting around telling him how to do his thing outside. So it's really important to have that boundary. Because I'm stressed, he's stressed, and to just not step on each other's toes.
definitely easier said than done.
I don't have a half speed. When I start a project, I am not comfortable till it's done.
Yeah.
Mercedes is the complete opposite, just like in everything else. I move like a rabbit and Mercedes moves like a snail.
Yeah, no, it's true. The reality is that if it was all John, we would have moved a lot of stuff and things would have been thrown into the new RV, but it wouldn't have made a lot of sense.
And we would have forgot things.
Yeah, whereas if it was just me, we would...
She'd be there another 3 months getting it ready.
But it'd be perfect.
The bottom line is you're going to have some tough days when you're doing big projects together. One of the things that Mercedes and I did was every night for an hour or two, we would watch a program together. We would start to plan about, the 3 months that we were looking at, the places we were going to travel. And that kind of brought us back together again, back into teamwork.
Yeah, because we had to focus on, have a carrot dangling out in the future, have something to look forward to. Otherwise, it's too hard.
Yep.
The 7th challenge that we faced was forgetting something. And I have some really tough news to break to you. You see, you're going to forget something.
Absolutely.
And it's okay. Walmart's everywhere. And I kind of am telling you that so that I remind myself that because I wanted my plan to be so perfect.
This was a big deal for me when it came to planning my tools, right? One of the things that I've found out in the past 22 months of RVing is that RVers are awesome people. One of the reasons I like having a lot of tools with me is not only I think that I might need them, but I like to have things that my neighbors need. And so I got to remember that most RVers are the same way as me and they're happy to help. So if I don't have a certain tool that I need, I can walk around the park, ask my neighbors, hey, do you got this? Do you got that? And RVs will pretty much always give me what I need.
Yeah, they'll loan it to you. You make a friend. Not to mention the fact that forgetting stuff and having things go wrong is one of the best ways to make memories. So we forgot some pretty silly things. I mean, we forgot our Wi-Fi booster, the MIMO that we use with our Verizon. We brought the one for AT&T, but not the one for Verizon. We forgot a handful of things.
We forgot a handful of things, but
Yeah.
it's Rule 62. Don't take yourself too seriously. The bottom line is it's never going to be perfect. You are going to forget something. And just remember that there's always a local Walmart or one of your RV neighbors.
Another challenge that we had is that even though the Class C has a lot of storage, the size of the compartments are totally different than the fifth wheel.
Yeah, the Class C has rows of storage below the floors all the way around the exterior. But the problem is that all of those storage areas, I believe there's 9 of them total, are only 6 7/8 tall. So what I was hoping that I could put in those spaces, I could not. It would not fit. Now, in the back of the RV on one side, there is a large compartment with a door that's about 30 inches. Now, this is where I put most of my big equipment, my tools, the things that I knew we may need. And then, of course, cleanup. Right, Mom?
Yeah, we don't want to come back to a really gross house.
She's all locked up. Ready to go. There we go.
So now that we've discussed the struggles of downsizing and preparing for this major trip, in the next video, we're hitting the road. And we're excited, and we're nervous, and we're scared, and we're ready, and we're terrified, but...
Well, we just forgot how to RV. We're sitting in one location. We're super excited. We're going to be traveling 2,000 miles to Colorado, giving ourselves 4 days to do it, but Mercedes knows me. I want to do it in 2.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to share that whole experience with you in the next video, so we'll see you in the next video, guys.
And thanks for coming on our journey with us.
Thank you so much.